Welcome back to Exotic Car Play Place, guys. Thanks for joining it again today. And hey, I'm going to cut to the chase. At the end of the day, you drive a BMW, Audi, Benz, whatever it is, maybe even a Lexus, and you wonder, hey, am I spending too much on these cars for maintenance? Maybe it needs it, maybe it doesn't. There's lots of questions about how much is too much. I'm going to share with you 5 of the top money wasters in terms of maintenance. Let's get into it now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Mark with Exotic Car Play Place. First big money waster when I talk about maintenance and repairs with your luxury car, like this BMW, for example, has to do with the fact that we just often don't know what we're getting into. Your car strikes an engine code, you have that little engine light on the dashboard, and you wonder what is the cause of that now. The worst part is you feel like you're at the dealer's mercy. Well, guess what? You don't have to be. This can save you a whole lot of grief, can save you a whole lot of money, and honestly, a great way to verify the trust that you have with your dealer or independent shop. So all you have to do is buy one of those little OBD2 scanners. You plug it into the OBD2 port, and it will spit out the code. You can also get one of those little dongles, and it works with an app on your phone. You can get a lot of different variations. Doesn't mean you have to make the repair yourself, but for a mere $20, $30, $40 to get one of these handhelds, you can at least verify and go empowered into the dealer and know what you're getting up against. You don't have to even say that you know what the problem is, but you can put the dealer in check. Spits out, says there's an oxygen sensor issue. Hey, you go in and all of a sudden the dealer tells you need a new motor because all these other things have gone wrong. You can call BS to that. So you really need to empower yourself and get one of these devices. So the second point of wasting money on maintenance and repairs comes to understanding what's pointless. After all, back in the day, they used the term tune-up. And that in itself can be a drastic waste of money because you take your car into the dealer and you say, give it a tune-up. That's an open checkbook. That's basically telling them to do whatever they want to do to that car because the term tune-up is just nonsense. Specify, give them exactly what you want to do. Sure, things like oil changes are very, very important. You want to make sure you take care of that. Brake fluid, coolant changes. These are all great things to do on a regular basis. They're the lifeline of the car's health. But there's a lot of other things that don't need doing anymore or just are plain pointless. Back in the day, there was a lot of things like adjusting valves, adjusting clutches, carburetor tune-ups, and even spark plugs nowadays are almost pointless because they're designed in such a way that they almost last the life of an engine. Now, sure, if you wind up with a misfire, of course you investigate, change the plugs as needed, but the term tune-up doesn't necessarily mean you have to change all your plugs and coils and wires. That's a waste of money. Also, another disgusting term is lube job. You know, back in the old owner's manual, there's a term used years ago where dealers would say, we got to lube your car or your chassis. Well, sure, there was things like ball joints and tie rods. You'd have to lubricate certain points. They had little nipples. You'd plug on the grease gun and grease them up. A lot of these cars have sealed units nowadays. So it's pointless, but the sad part is a lot of the dealers still use that old terminology as a way to just sort of make you spend some money in their shop. Really pointless. Do you want a third point that can save you a lot of money on maintenance? How about do some of the maintenance yourself? Doesn't mean you have to be an authorized BMW mechanic or a certified Lamborghini tech. That's a lot of nonsense. For the precision work, sure, those dealers are sometimes needed. They have specialized equipment, specialized scanners that can set up diagnostics. As a matter of fact, a lot of these single clutch systems now, you have to set up a lot of features like point of pickup and a lot of different things that they have to dial in and they need specialized equipment. But that's for a very small part of the work. What about the regular stuff? Filter changes, fuel filter, oil. That is the most classic do-it-yourself work. And if you're doing 1 or 2 or maybe even sometimes 3 oil changes a year, you're starting to save hundreds of dollars every single year. That's an easy money maker. Now, if you're a little bit more adventurous like myself, I mean, sometimes you can tackle other things, get in deeper, do starters and do some cooling repairs and water pumps and timing belts. I've done things like this myself. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to do all of that. It just means whatever you're comfortable in doing, do it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just money in the pocket. So it doesn't mean you have to rebuild engines and gearboxes and do a clutch job on your BMW. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means challenge yourself. What's your personal skill set? Do a little research, have a few basic tools, and you can do some of the work yourself. Whatever your comfort zone looks like. After all, YouTube is a beautiful thing. There's lots of resources for doing a lot of these tasks yourself. After all, you take your car to the dealer. If you want to change a taillight that's burnt out, the dealer might charge you a half-hour labor. They might charge you $50, maybe $100 to change a couple of burnt out taillights. How about windshield wipers up here, for example? Easy upsell for those guys. Oh yeah, how about a set of wiper blades? We can replace that for you. How much? Oh, $42. Well, guess what? You go down to the local hardware store, pick up a set of decent blades for $15. Do it yourself. Takes 20 minutes of your time. Said and done. It's always just money in your pocket. So the fourth thing is not just talking about the things that aren't really needed. It's the things that are needed, but in doing it in excess. Like maybe you don't need to do things as much as you're currently doing them. How about oil changes is a classic example. Now, I'm a perfect advocate for doing oil changes. And if anything, I sometimes do them more often than needed because some of the cars I drive only drive seasonal. So I might only do 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 kilometers on an oil change, but that's because it's done once a year. However, generally speaking, 3,000 miles is far too soon to change synthetic oil. Now, that being said, BMW, they're notorious for their extended oil service intervals. As far as I'm concerned, 10,000 miles, 12,000 miles, way too many kilometers between oil change. 5,000 to 8,000 miles? Sure, why not? Do your oil change within that range somewhere and you'll be good to go. Synthetic, high quality oil, it won't be a problem. Lots of money saved there too. You want to hear a few more pointless ones? Front end alignment. Just because you hit a few potholes and bumps in the road doesn't mean you need a front end alignment all the time. Sure, if the car is pulling hard to one side or there's an obvious problem with shimmy, sure, then you deal with it. You don't need a routine front end alignment. You also don't need a coolant flush because flushing the system with water then can wreak havoc of its own. And how is this dirt and grime getting into the system anyway? The modern day coolant in these modern day cars is top shelf. They have lots of corrosion inhibitors and other products to keep the corrosion down. The reality is changing your antifreeze is fine. The flush and paying for that flush, which is a classic dealer shiv, not necessary. Just change your antifreeze once in a blue moon. Again, don't need to flush it. One more pointless, cabin air filter like you find under here. Unless you're driving in the desert and it's extremely dusty, nasty conditions, what's the point in changing your cabin air filter? Again, if we want to save some money, that's the last thing you need to fix. Don't bother. And the last thing that you can do to protect yourself and save some money when it comes to maintenance is don't necessarily get sucked into the vortex by the dealers. They're going to want to upsell you on everything. As I mentioned, a lot of the little things, the bulbs and the headlights, tail lights, windshield wipers, and a lot of other little things. The worst part is you get the car in the dealership and all of a sudden they start telling you there's other things. There's loose front end. Maybe you have weak ball joints or noise in the front end. Sure, sometimes you do, but the sad part is there's lots of cases where you don't. So it's important to trust the dealer or the independent shop that you're dealing with so these kind of recommendations don't seem frivolous. But at the end of the day, don't get pulled into all that little stuff that you can tackle yourself. Keep an eye on your vehicle. Check under the hood once in a while. You'll have a pretty good idea if your car's leaking. Are you using antifreeze? Are you having to top this up? Are you having to top up your engine oil? If you are, you'll know if you got leaks. But if your fluids are remaining static and all you have to do is change them, why are you getting pulled into that vortex? Just understand that not everything needs to be done. Be sure you study your owner's manual and don't need to veer off and do all these other things that the dealers will sometimes promote. It honestly is a waste of money. If you want to see a little bit more on maintenance, click right there. You'll love that video. And if you just want to subscribe to the channel, don't forget to hit that link just over here and the notifications bell. It's going to get you to my next great video. I really hope to see you guys. Love to hear from you in the comments. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.